Hello and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this? You may ask, so I'll tell you. The accept mean of angel is messenger and the accept mean of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guest and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I'll introduce you to my wonderful returning guest, Stephanie Zito. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both Steph and me to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Rae, who's the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I'm a guide who helps you remember your divine presence so that you can heal your past, create your future, and transform your present to expand your consciousness, understand your spiritual path, get clarity on your next steps, and take charge of your destiny so that you can fulfill your purpose in this lifetime. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Stephanie Zito, about transmuting fear and stepping into limitlessness. Now, Stephanie is a psychic medium, certified hypnotherapist, and manifesting facilitator, who is also a highly regarded manifest expert and speaker, helping clients across the globe discover and realize their best lives with both passion and purpose. Through intuitive alchemic coaching and hypnosis, Stephanie helps her clients shed past traumas and beliefs, holding them back and to actively step into new timelines of their deepest desires with passion and joy. Additionally, she is the founder and host of the podcast, The Passionate Life, sharing her knowledge and insights on compassionate communication and finding your life's purpose. Now, today we'll be exploring the transformative power of transmuting fear and stepping into limitlessness as you unlock boundless potential. Now, with testimonials such as a way shower, she provided a safe space to explore deep understandings around my life's purpose and next steps. And her guidance interpretations help the information and journey flow clearly. I highly recommend booking a session with Stephanie, and words cannot express how much Stephanie has positively impacted my life. I would recommend her to anyone. In fact, I did. She helped my family member overcome a life obstacle with great patience, knowledge, and grace. Her impact can still be felt to this day. I would hands down recommend Stephanie Zito, and I'll continue to utilize her coaching in my life too. Thank you, Stephanie, for all you do to make this world a better place. And what a beautiful soul purpose reading I received from Stephanie. She channeled the exact thing I do, and it resonated so beautifully with me. Her energy is angelic. So grateful to have received a channeled message through her. Thank you. So without further delay, hello, Stephanie, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. I don't even remember some of those those testimonies. I'm like, you should send those to me so I can. Thank you so much for sharing those. Yeah, I'm doing
Oh,
amazing. How are you?
I'm not too bad. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind everyone who's watching live or the replay, not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Steph and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. So Steph, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how we can transmute fear to step into limitlessness?
Yeah, I think fear has really been an amazing teacher for me in different areas of my life. Really, one of the most impactful was when I was in a really fear-based place, and I actually was moving to move in with my boyfriend before my meeting my now husband in my life now. So I was literally I had all my stuff in my truck, was driving cross country, was fighting with him on the phone, and I hit black ice and I spun around several times and I ended up facing the direction from which I had come, the phone through to the ground, and I heard this loud voice in my head say, "You don't have to go, you can turn back." And at that time, I ignored it and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna keep going because it's what I do and we don't give up and we make things work and we're already on our way. And I put all this time in, all the things that we say to ourselves, and I hear a client say to me. And I went, and there were a lot of lessons learned. And I really feel like that whole time, there's never any loss, there's never any regrets for me, really. It's always just learning. I really learned how much I was in fear of the life that I really did want. All the things that I really knew in the back of my mind that I wanted. And many times I'll talk to a client, they don't feel clear, but underneath that lack of clarity, there is clear. And typically in the in-between is the fear, it's like these different layers. And it's just the fear won't let us see it. And that's exactly what was happening. I thought that I had to stay with this boyfriend at the time, and I had to make it work, and I had to get a job in this place that wasn't for me, and a corporate job, and wearing suits that like just didn't fit me right, and these jobs that didn't fit, and no one would hire me. Thank you, red lights, right? Thank you, red lights, Otherwise, I probably would have stayed. But what happened was I got a coach, and she helped me to get so in my own alignment, so clear. I was able to once again listen to that inner voice, listen to my guides, trust to take that step into the vulnerable unknown that really was my field of pure potential. And what happened was I moved to where I wanted to live, California. I had that one synchronistic friend, that angel on earth that I got to live with, that got my foot in the door, that then got me my dream job. And I met my now husband, and everything started to just like flow, right? And I was kind of like, what is this life? And I couldn't have been more grateful. I'm always grateful for living here and this life that I have. And I really took a moment after all this sort of transpired, and I got married, and I was like, wait a minute, what was that? What was that? And that really sent me down this pathway to understand this field of manifesting and overcoming other fears, to be seen as a coach, to be seen as the type of coach that I am, to be seen by people who I'm close to who don't agree with psychic work, to be seen, right? The vulnerability of being seen, and moving through that fear. And what I noticed was, just because we move to the next level doesn't mean we're ever going to move past fears. We just learn a different method and a way of utilizing them and getting excited when they show up. Because now I know when they show up, they're only showing up because we're now in this sort of frequency distortion. A frequency distortion between the person who we were, vibrating at that level. Oh, this is what I'm available for, and I can't really have this kind of person, and I can't have this life, and that's not available to me. To being that person that believes, what if? Oh, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to start that business. I'm going to hang my shingle. That's where the fear is going to show up, because now we're toggling between the energy that we were and the energy that we already are, but we're also becoming. And it's probably going to be uncomfortable. And so now when we feel that, I am in the right place. You start to understand the questions you can ask, get the support that's going to help you. So you just know, you're like, oh, I am in the right place because I'm feeling this. And then you have the tools, which I'm here to talk about and help with, so that you can make that energetic upgrade and vibrate at that new place, where then you're going to reach platinum level and have other fears that you get to deal with. So.
Exactly, because I think that's life, isn't it? It's like there's always going to be, every time you up level, there's always going to be another fear there for you. But I love what you said, the what if. That is such a powerful way of getting you onto the next level. What if?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I kind of, there's, a way I teach in terms of manifesting that maybe you've heard of too, in terms of our timelines. And there is this idea, which I feel is very helpful to, when we look at our fears, to actually envision that there is a timeline. Picture there's like a wavelength of energy, or this timeline upon which the things that you really want to have happen exist. They exist. They exist in what we call the quantum field. They exist in our mindset. If they can exist in our mindset, then they can exist in reality. We see the reality of other people living this lifestyle that we think of, right? That exists. There's probably some things we can talk about that are going to help us to get onto that timeline. And I think it's very helpful to actually go there and envision that the stuff that you don't want to see happen, that you don't want to talk about, exists on another timeline. And what we can do is envision that sometimes the stuff that we don't want to see happen, the book deal doesn't go through and the clients don't sign up, whatever it is for you, the people don't like you, you get a troll, whatever it is, it exists, it happens. And so when we acknowledge, you know what, that timeline exists. There's timeline A, the timeline that I want. And there's timeline B, C, D, E, F. You can go down through the whole alphabet twice and 5 times with all the things that you don't want to see happen that can exist. When you acknowledge that exists on a different timeline, and you get yourself, and I have a training, you're welcome to have it. It's a free training on timeline. Well, it's not free, but you can have it. I'll gift it to you. So you've got your timeline A. And then if you acknowledge, you know what, anytime the energy of timeline B, C wants to seep up, picture it like a colored energy, like that maybe it's like a gray or a blue, or no offense to any particular colors, but you know, whatever that color is, you feel it seeping up. You're like, oh no, you exist on timeline B. I'm going to send you back there. Like pack its bag, send it on the bus, send it on the airplane, send it back to timeline B. It's an incredibly helpful practice, because there's an acknowledgement, you know what, that timeline exists. I acknowledge that exists, and I'm going to continue to exist on timeline A. When you do that, then you're kind of sealing up what we call your energy leaks. Because we can spend a lot of time, hi, welcome. We can spend a lot of time leaking energy towards timeline B. We're worried and we're afraid, and this happened to this person, and I have evidence of that, right? We can spend all this time and energy on timeline B. What is that doing? It's kind of pulling our energy towards timeline B, not to scare us, but just to acknowledge, like, if I'm going to spend all that time thinking about the bad things that are going to happen, I'm sort of veering. It's like, how could I not take that road? It's like veering us towards that road, right? So why not instead, instead of leaking that energy, leaking that precious resource of energy, time, mind frame towards all that stuff, why not put that energy, put that frequency towards what you do want to see happen? What question do I not have answered? What energetic block is getting in my way? How can I solve for this? How can I solve for it? You know, many times when we have a fear, I want to publish a book, but I'm afraid I won't get published. Well, what information do I simply not have? Have I done my due diligence? Have I even looked into what it looks like to publish a book? Have I looked into self-publishing? Have I decided, well, maybe I don't want to go that route. I really want to go this other route. Have I talked to authors that are successful? Like, what answers have I solved for, right? Have I looked at, do I actually have my own energetic block showing up that is keeping me safe by not publishing? Do I actually have an energetic block that I'm afraid that if I publish, I'm going to be so successful, that I'm going to be so busy and so stressed out, right? That I'm going to actually block myself. And I'm going to come up with all the reasons and excuses that I can't publish or it's hard, because what I'm really afraid of is what it looks like when I'm seen, when I'm visible. We can kind of trace the ancestry of those fears sometimes. Maybe it's from when we were younger. Sometimes it's from our ancestry. Sometimes it's from a past life. And then when we can identify that, what I do with clients is not only do I help you to transmute that, but I also teach you how to do that for yourself, because I really feel that that's available for all of us in our own hands. We just sometimes need to learn it.
Yeah. And Graham's here, and he says, hi, ladies. Hi, Graham.
Hi.
And he says, all facts of one's thought can become a whole using just one facet. Never will complete the picture alone.
Yeah, very lovely. Absolutely. Yeah, we kind of can get micro-focused, like that idea of when we have like a whole elephant in front of us, but we're just focused on the leg, and we're like, what is that? I don't know what to do with this. So, we have to kind of pan out sometimes. In fact, I'm prepping a talk for a mastermind. I was just thinking about that, about like that panning out, panning back, so we don't get so kind of myopic. And I have this sort of like I guess we could call it like star approach. Yeah, facts equals facets. Don't you
Facts.
love like language? I love
Exactly.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Faces. um, I have this sort of star approach to kind of doing this. And the first step when you're kind of looking at um, this thing that you really want, or maybe you're not even clear on what you do really want, right? Or you say you're not clear. I think you actually are. But on the surface, it feels like you're not clear. You know, I know that place when I was in the wrong relationship. I was like, I don't know what I want. Well, I did. I actually did. I was just afraid to acknowledge it. But the first step is getting into energy alignment, right? It's getting into energetic alignment. It's energy alignment towards what we really want. And we can do that even by just getting an energy alignment with the feeling of what we really want. Well, what I really want is the sense of freedom. You know, I think of some of the things that I love that I'm getting to do this year. It's like exploration, it's travel. Well, what do I need to get there? Well, I need money. Um, am I willing to do things that I don't love to get that money? No. So now, see, I'm getting into energy alignment, right? As I'm making my choices, it's not, well, should I continue in my day job or should I switch to coaching? It's like, well, let me back up and look at my big picture. When I know that I'm really not willing to do stuff that isn't in alignment to make that money, then I know I'm guided towards, well, in those two examples, like for me, it'd be the coaching, right? So, okay, great. Now I know that. Then we go to, as we sort of look at this sort of flow chart, we kind of bounce back and forth at times, because then you might go to, well, okay, now that I know what I want to move towards, I'm going to cast the vision for that. I'm going to look at my big picture. I'm going to look at, well, where do I want to be? Well, I want to have my own business. I want to be traveling. Okay, well, let me cast the vision. What does that look like? If I backtrack, if I reverse engineer that, then what steps am I going to take in 6 months? What steps am I taking in 3 months? What steps am I taking in 1 month? What steps am I taking today? That's like writing your book, whatever it is, making your card deck, starting your business. What steps am I taking today? Then we can look at, well, where am I in resistance? Now we get to the fears. Where am I in resistance? What's showing up? Well, I can't do that. I don't have time. I don't have money to invest. I don't. What's showing up? That's where we do our release practices. You know, I know for me and the work that I do, I work very quickly with people through hypnosis, through what I call Akashic Records way showing. I mean, pretty much almost daily, I receive messages back from clients that I've met with a day or two later. They will have the biggest blocks. Like right now, for some reason, I'm working with a lot of people with real estate investing. And it's like the real estate's sitting. It's not moving. It's just not getting sold. It's sitting in escrow. They're not getting the buyer. And we'll work together. We'll do the energy release practice through hypnosis, through Akashic Records. A day or two later, they're getting the all cash offer. They're getting the offers, they're getting the money coming in, they're getting interest on the house. It's like, it's literally happening within a day or two. And it's happening frequently because it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to take a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. So we go from the release practice, right? So once we've got that, and you might go back, you might, okay, now that I've done the release practice, let me go back to my clarity. Is this what I really want? Clarity, there's some practices we can do around that. Intuitive practices, this is what I teach, that can get us back to, this is my big picture, casting the vision. Do I have anything else to release around this? Okay. And then we can move into our actionable pathway. The actionable pathway is where you are taking action and you are in that place of receiving. So in terms of manifesting, right, it's a little bit of both. It's like there's always this energetic flow. Where am I right now? What am I actually doing? Am I in resistance? Okay, well, let me go back to clearing. Let me go back to my energy alignment. And then we start to really see our physical manifestations taking place. And sometimes we can really just go from the energy alignment right to the physical manifestation. Think it, get it. Think it, see it, right? Nothing in the way. think it synchronicity. Oh, someone calls you and asks you to be on their podcast or to talk in their mastermind or gives you the opportunity, or hey, here's another offer on the house. Sometimes we need a little bit more like massaging. Hi, Christina. Welcome.
Hi, Christina.
So that's kind of like an overview to me of what this sort of pathway can look like. And again, I like to think of it in terms of a visual of like a star, because some steps will take you back to one of the quote unquote first steps, and then you just sort of are just in, you're in this cycle. You're in like you're just like in an energetic flow between one place to another.
Yeah, no, that's such an easy, I wouldn't say easy way of explaining, but it's such a clear way of actually explaining that. Because I think sometimes we can get so bogged down with, especially when where we had The Secret and everything like that, about the manifesting and doing this and doing that, and it did get a little bit, I think personally, just a little bit, it wasn't working, and it just got a bit of heaviness about it. It's sort of like the way you've explained it is so much more lighter, if that makes sense.
Good, good. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, you know what? I think part of that is that our default, our default goes to our prefrontal cortex and this part of our brain that wants to rationally. We spend so much time in this one small part of our brains, right? We're like, oh, I'm going to do it here. But the thing is, and this is the fault of it, is that it thinks it can do everything, and it was never meant to, it was never supposed to. And so I'm glad this feels lighter, because this framework gives the prefrontal cortex something to kind of latch onto. It gives it pathways which it likes, and at the same time, the actual process is moving us into the intelligence of our intuition. It's moving us into the intelligence of our heart center. That is connected to something much greater than the prefrontal cortex. It's connected to our very channel that connects us with the quantum field, wherein all this stuff exists. We are in it. We forget this sometimes. We're like,
Yeah.
we're in it. We are in the quantum field. It's not separate from us. Like, let me go connect. We're always in it. We just sort of forget. So when we kind of remind ourselves with that, then I think it can make it, well, I got to write this down 55 times, 5 times. No, the reason for doing any practice like that, I'm going to write my manifestation down 55 times, 5 times a day. I'm going to write it 3, 6, 9 times. The only reason to do any of that is an extension of the energy who you already be, right? And so what it's helping you do is just get into that energy of alignment. It's sort of forcing you into that energy alignment. It's bringing that desire to the forefront. If you find that it's been on the forefront for a long time and nothing's happening, then you can kind of go through this framework and touch base on, well, where am I stuck? Is it the clarity? Is there some energy clearing that needs to happen? Am I not taking aligned action? What's going on here?
Yeah, no, that really makes sense. And even Graham, says, thank you, Steph, for the explanation. This adds another facet.
Yeah.
Bigger picture for myself. Which is absolutely brilliant. And of course, if anyone's got any questions or anything you want to ask about this, then please do. You've got Stephanie here, it's
You too.
like,
If you have a particular fear, if you've got a question for an intuitive reading, I'm really happy to be here for it. If you have a question about a particular area around that, while I'm looking for questions, I have something to say around the way fear can show up, right?
oh, please.
I think, yeah, for many of us, I think fear can show up like procrastination. I hear that a lot of times. We're just procrastinating. We're not clearing out the room. We're not writing the book. We're not doing the work with the program that we invested in. So you can have like all the strategy in the world. You can buy all the programs and you got the strategy. That's right here. Prefrontal cortex, right? We feel satisfied because we bought the thing. We thought we did something. But procrastination is giving us information. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't realize that. It's all information. Why am I procrastinating? We're either having energy towards something or energy away from something. Let's take the book writing. I'm procrastinating writing my book, and I'm doing everything else but, but I'm feeling the energy of the procrastination, right? Like I'm feeling like off, and I'm feeling like tense, and I'm like, I should be working on it, but I'm not. And like, we're just not in flow at all, right? So now we have to ask, am I procrastinating towards something? Is my motivation to procrastinate towards something or away from something? The away from might be something like, if I write my book and it's complete and I'm very successful, then I have to be visible, which I'm afraid of, right? Because maybe I have a wound from a past life where I was visible and something bad happened. Or I learned when I was younger that we're supposed to not be seen, or I got bullied like I did when I was younger, and I became very invisible for a very long time until I healed that part of myself. And we can just look at that. Well, am I moving away from something that if I had that, I would feel afraid of that, right? That would feel too fearful. I would be, what would I'd be too busy, and I'd have to handle a team, and right? It's like the things we don't necessarily realize are keeping us from, right? I'm moving away from that. We might also be procrastinating towards something. Perhaps we actually just feel really overworked and overbusied, and over cluttered in our minds. And procrastination is trying to give us the gift of slowing down, to give us the gift of hibernation, of like bear mode, right? And if we lean into that and we actually just freaking go lay down, just take the day and just say, you know what does my soul really need right now? What is procrastination giving me? I am just going to lay on my bed and binge watch my shows and read my book and take my bath and light my candles until such time as I feel different, and see what happens. See what happens. Now, if it goes on for 6 months, you
Yeah.
might want to take a look at what else is kind of getting in the way. I would hope it wouldn't take that long. That's what I'm here for, so it doesn't have to take that long.
Yes.
But I'd be really curious if you really didn't feel afraid of it, if you didn't feel like it's wrong to procrastinate, it's wrong to rest, if you just leaned into it, what would happen? If you just let your soul lead and you were like, what would nourish my soul? You know what? I just want to sleep. I just want to like shut off and give myself permission that it's normal and natural to take this rest, and perhaps move away from my phone and my computer for a day and just be. I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen. I wonder if the ideas could flow better. I wonder if I could ground and reset my energy more. I wonder what procrastination is trying to gift me, right? Through the gift of not doing. Yeah. So I really like to, like I mentioned, when it comes to any fear or any style that fear shows up as, when we kind of lean into it and learn from it and understand it, what it can actually give to us.
Yeah, because whilst you were talking about that, and sort of like when you said the fear thing about book, it's also the fear of no one wanting to buy the book. You publish it and no one buys it.
So it's also, yeah, that's another social fear, right? The social fear that this is why I launched the program. Oh, no one is going to show up for my program. No one's going to show up. No one's going to show up. It's that fear of isolation. It's the fear of disconnection. It's the fear of not being connected, right? It's the fear of being visible and public shame, right? Public shame that it wasn't good enough, fear of it not being good enough. So the beauty of this is when we're not afraid of looking at the actual fear, the first step is, well, how is it showing up? Am I procrastinating? Do I have comparisonitis where I just look at everybody else, and rather than be inspired, I'm actually, to be honest, kind of jealous or looking for them to fail, or just
Yeah.
thinking like, I can't have, well, they already started out with money, or well, they look this way and I don't look that way, or there's some reason. We make up the reason why they can succeed and we can't. We can look at we were looking at like comparisonitis, we were looking at procrastination, we were looking at what's another one? Off the top of my head. There's so many gremlins, so many good gremlins to look at.
I know there's so many out there. And in fact, everyone who's watching, I can see we've got quite a few people watching. What are your gremlins? What is holding you back? What fears do you have for moving forward at this moment in time? And let's see if Steph can help you with that. Whilst you're
Absolutely.
here. And Graham says a lot of people hide their past from being exposed due to the fact they made an error. That way they miss the opportunity of letting the error become the lesson.
Yeah, you're right. And I think what I find is when people come to me, they aren't at that place. But I see, some people who they don't feel like they're ready. They have their excuses why they are not going to therapy, or they're not going to someone like myself, right? To do this. It's because we've been taught to be afraid of our fears. This tends to be more, we look at the different energies, right? Like the energy of the masculine tends to quote unquote be the energy of doing, the energy of, I'm not trying to like stereotype by any means or typify.
No.
It's just like trying to, the sacred masculine is we are in energy, we are in creation, we are doing, right? The feminine is very beautiful in its ability to receive as well, right? You think of like the egg and the sperm. Sperm's doing all the work. Egg's like, okay, just come to me.
Come on.
I'm just gonna be here in my throne. You can come on in. So like how beautiful is that, right? So when we oh my gosh, I kind of like lost where we were with that. The fear, like being afraid of looking at the fears. I think there's this sense of, well, we can't look at that. Like that's gonna open a can of worms. There's a lot of families that can be like that too. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that, right? But what they don't realize is it's the same idea, going into the psychic space, and sometimes we can see things that don't look super pretty, right? Sometimes we see things that are kind of like, maybe they look frightening, and anytime that happens, none of that is as strong or overpowering than our 3D selves. Like we are so powerful that beyond what we even realize. And so when we're able to actually look at it, we can realize like it's a lot of times underneath that thing that's like angry or destructive. Look at like a toddler tantruming.
Yeah.
Like they're hurt, or they're afraid, or they're lacking connection. There's usually something that involves love, honestly, underneath it. And when we also realize like it's very safe to hold the whole spectrum of emotions, like we can feel ecstatic joy because we can feel the most excruciating pain. And as humans, embodied humans, we get to experience all of that, and it all gets to be information. We realize that we're never going to be overpowered by these emotions. We're never going to be overpowered by these fears. In fact, they are going to be the gateway through towards our up leveling of our frequency. Like they're showing us the pathway to healing.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And Lise Lae says, why are the fear of success and life's good things so intense? Because they are, aren't they? Even the littlest fear, can just be so big.
Well, I think that some of this also comes from our societal upbringing, and some of it really has been embedded in our psyche. As soon as I read that, I was just like, wow, this is such a lineage question. It's such a lineage thing. It's something that's been sort of just like handed down, just like fairy tales, right? Fairy tales for really social control. So Hansel and Gretel wouldn't wander off into the woods on their own.
Yep.
Fear of success, well, geez, we look at the 99% and the 1%, and if we had a bunch of other people that were at that 1%, it wouldn't be the 1% anymore. We have to share a little bit more of that. So think about this. Like look at schools and where their origins came for social control, so that people would kind of move into these factory jobs and would be supporting these larger industries, right? Um, if I am afraid of success, if I am afraid of being fully seen, then maybe I just won't do it. Maybe I just won't go after it. Maybe I haven't been taught to, in school, even understand what an intuition is, right? I'm taught to listen to the expert, listen to the teacher. I will tell you, it's so interesting. Everything that we know has really been downloaded from the quantum field. I look at any modality that we might talk about here, even like Reiki, um, yogic practices, uh, any type of energy healing. We might say like, well, Reiki, there's Reiki, right? And you have to do these particular signs and symbols. That is a download and a way of harnessing and moving energy. Does it mean it has to be that one way and you have to learn that one way? Absolutely not.
Oh, we've lost Stephanie there, so hopefully she'll realise and come back in. Yeah, that was a good uh, out of balance. I think we kind of got ourselves a little bit lost with the sperm and the egg there. Yep, Stephanie's back. There you go.
Okay. I
I
don't
did
know.
my
I went into
magic.
the quantum field.
You did.
I have no idea why. I didn't touch anything. I was just like, you're done. Yeah, I think what I was just talking about visibility, right? Like, I think,
Yeah, you
it's
disappeared.
some of what I think it's really important to understand is some of these things that we talk about, these fears, they're very much in the collective. You feel it very specifically yourself. I feel it very specifically myself, like it's mine. But what I want us to understand is that it's not actually always all mine. It's not all yours. It was sort of handed down on purpose such that you would not rise up, such that you would be controlled and you would think that you needed another piece of paper and certificate and gateway to do the things that your soul is meant to do, right? So much easier to control us when we think we need to be controlled and when we think that it's unsafe to be visible and to be seen.
Yeah, totally. And Graham says that the intensity does affect the whole body and activates all the cells of the body. If it doesn't, it's just part due to the fact that you haven't understood that moment.
Yeah. So what I find to be really interesting about this is that these activations can really very much happen at the cellular level, and sometimes they show up very much somatically. They show up in our soma, in our headaches, and our high blood pressure. Um, I just did a clearing recently for a woman who uh, had been told several times she had these generational curses. I don't personally feel like I don't feel called towards the word curse.
Mm.
However, in terms of language, I understand the energy of what that expression is meant to say. Okay. So when I think of curse, I think of something that has been, it just puts a lot, again, a lot of power into the hands of others,
Yeah.
right? And I don't believe that that power really exists. So, however, we can be impacted, perhaps in prior generations from something that occurred that then gets handed down systemically or epigenetically through our DNA, right? It does get coded. It does get coded in a bit. When we know that and we're able to shift it and transmute it, I mean, for her, it boiled down into even having physical problems and a lot of like stomach gut issues. And we were working together immediately after we finished. I have never heard a stomach make the sounds that this stomach made. And she's like, "Do you hear that?" She's like, "That's the energy shifting right now." So I have never heard sounds like that. But I guess I bring that up because you'll see this will happen. Like someone's blood pressure will shift, right? You'll see this happen at a cellular level, we really can kind of rewrite that script within our own DNA. It's where we talk about releasing generational trauma, so that we're no longer handing down that legacy to others. It's very powerful, like what's available to us.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And when I'm doing my work as well, when stuff is being released, stomachs will go, or burping or coughing, just all those those bodily functions. It's like, okay, that energy is coming out whichever way form it wants to come out, and you can't stop it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, you know it.
Which I think is absolutely brilliant. So, apart from asking the questions, what other tools can we use when we've got those fears that come up, even those silly irrational little fears that you just in normal day life, if it was happening to someone else, you'd go, oh, so, but to you it just seems so big at that moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step is to take a moment with it and recognize where you feel it in your body, because that's going to be information. Um, that's going to be information as to where it may be tethered, right, towards something in your past or towards your ancestry. So, if we are familiar with the chakras and the chakra system, you might have something you're like, "Oh, wow, let's say I'm going to give a talk and I'm feeling fearful about going on stage." Very common, right? Being seen, being visible. So maybe I'm feeling it in my throat, right? Perhaps I got in trouble for speaking up when I was younger. So now we can identify. We may be able to identify where it's coming from, maybe not. But a practice that I really like to do is to acknowledge, okay, what fear am I feeling? Well, I'm afraid of being seen. I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to mess up. Okay, where where do see? Listen, look at that. Do you hear me clearing right now?
Yeah.
Just as we're talking about it, this is for you guys. You're welcome. The collective clearing. So we just were like, okay, so we feel it. Maybe it's in the throat chakra. Can I identify the origins? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. It's okay if you can't. It's not, it's all right. But regardless, I'm going to picture this like a ball of energy. Maybe I see it as gray, and I'm going to just imagine I'm pulling it out from my throat center. Perhaps it also, oh, I feel it in my belly too, or I feel stiffness in my spine. I feel it in my heart center. Okay, I'm going to pull that out. Can I envision what this energy might look or feel like? Does it feel like taffy? Does it feel like weights? Does it feel heavy? Envision you can just pull it out so it's like a ball of energy just floating right in front of you. So it's no longer in you. Now it's outside of you. It's right in front of you. Once it's in front of you, again, if you can acknowledge that it comes from times past, you can just pull all that energy or sever those cords or release it somehow. And then what I like to do is transmute it, transmuting the fear. I envision that it would much rather be doing something else than stuck in my throat like a lump of weight. And I envision it would love to go to the beach. It would love to go have some fun. It would love to go find a romantic partner. It would love to have a relaxing dinner. It would love to go do something else. And I let it go, like breathing out, exhaling, and letting it release like a thousand butterflies right into the atmosphere, or bubbles of hearts of love, whatever it is, you're just releasing it out, transmuted into a beautiful energy that you'd much rather experience or have experienced out in the world around you, right?
Yeah.
So I love that as a pretty quick and simple practice. I've seen it to be very effective, especially in the time when you are feeling it. This is a great way to switch, instead of continuing down that cycle, right? Oh my gosh, I am feeling terrible about writing this talk, or showing up in my business, or working out, or whatever it might be for you. Oh, where do I feel that? Oh, I feel it in my belly. What is that related to? And I will tell you, this is very much not a complete hypnosis, but this to me is like a really important piece that I add into hypnosis, especially if we're trying to release something like weight. Like those who I work with who are looking towards weight loss, I don't always start with a hypnosis that's directly about like shedding 20 pounds,
No.
right? Or not eating chips. I'm looking at, well, what's underlying it? What weight are we carrying that isn't ours? Because when we start to release that, the weight can start to come off too. We start to metabolize it differently.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, and a picture just, just came to me there, which was kind of like, that child that had the weight, but it wasn't really that the child had the weight. It was it was feeling like they had the weight of their parents and their grandparents and their grandparents on top
Mhm.
of them, that just kind of like accumulated inside them. And that
Mhm.
once they started sort of like releasing those, it's like they just kind of like shrank.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's why I don't even start with, yeah, all those weight loss plans, and I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna do that. All of that is the kind of external stuff, and yes, go for it, right? Yeah, of course, like,
Oh yeah, you still got to eat
what you what you
healthily-ish.
what you put in your body is gonna make a difference, but of course. But at the same time, sometimes, like, the way out is the way in. It's exactly like what you're saying too. And when we're releasing all those other pressures and weights, it creates a sense of lightness in the being. It creates a metabolism of energy. It creates, right, a vibrance of energy, because we're no longer also stagnated energetically based on the opinions of others. See what I mean? If our
Yeah,
energy, our metabolism is stagnant in the being, in the body, right, that can create weight gain, and it can also relate to the stagnation of feeling safe to be expressing our energy, or is it safe to release this energy? Is it like, am I sort of betraying anyone if I release this energy? So it can be really important to identify and release that piece, feel safe around that piece, because at the end of the day, and this is something that I thought was brilliant when I went through my hypnosis training, is that the subconscious really is what's driving the train. So again, when we talk about fears, I just worked with someone with fear of flying, and we did the hypnosis on a Friday. Saturday, she just wanted to be able to relax with her family, and Sunday she had her flight. And usually she'd be like sweating it, she'd be really focused on the flight, she'd be worried the night before, she wouldn't just be enjoying her family while they're having a barbecue, she'd be worried on the plane, having a drink to calm her nerves, like any turbulence, like forget it. And it worked. She was able to enjoy her time with her family. They actually had a lot of turbulence on the airplane, and her husband asked her after, "How was that for you?" She's like, "Oh my gosh, she had forgotten that they even had turbulence." It was like a nothing thing for her. So, with the fear, what happens is the conscious and the subconscious can be in conflict, right? The conscious says, well, I'm going to take this flight, I'm going to travel. In general, we are safe. In general, these pilots have a lot of experience, and why would they fly if it wasn't safe for them? Just like we would say with writing the book or starting the podcast or starting the coaching business. Well, I see these other people doing it, and in general, I see that they can succeed. And so if they can, why can't I? It's all really rational, but the subconscious is what's driving the ship. The subconscious is the crew driving. And if the subconscious says, well, that's not safe because you were teased when you were younger for being visible, or your family didn't want you to be seen because that's not what we do and it's not how we act, right? Or we're afraid of the success, then the subconscious is going to put the barriers up. And that's where the fear is going to come from. It's where the procrastination will come from, because it's literally going to keep us safe. It's a prime directive of the subconscious. So some of your goals can feel like you're just fighting yourself. It feels like a slog, and it's heavy, and it takes time, and it's even losing weight can feel like that, right? Because we think, well, if I lose weight, then maybe I'll lose some of my friends, and they'll
yeah,
think they'll think this about me now, and right, or making more money. I've worked with clients who are looking for that next phase in their business, and that's the one thing keeping them back is like, well, I'll lose my friends, I'll lose connection, I'll lose love, right?
yeah.
So when we're able to bring the subconscious on board with the conscious mind, and the subconscious feels safe, not only safe, but even expansive. Oh, well, I write my book, I'm going to create amazing connections that are really valuable and love me for who I am and my truth. And this success will provide us with the expansion to go do the travel that we want. And being visible is going to be amazing. And I understand that those people who don't like me, it's perfectly normal for that to happen, but it doesn't mean anything about me. When the subconscious can feel on board with that, all these things, all the actions become much, much easier.
Yeah, beautifully, beautifully said. And I hope it makes sense to everyone that has been watching. And Graham has had to go, but he says thank you so much for a wonderful informative show. Brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Graham. So as you know, I do every week I like to ask my guests if they would like a guided mini meditation, or they would like me to pull an angel oracle card. But when I know that I have guests who are intuitive and do things like that, I like to ask them if they would like to do something for everyone watching. So Steph, anything you'd like to do for us?
Yes, I'm just going to pull, I feel called towards a certain deck that I got recently. So I'm just going to pull this deck out. This is the Spirit Allies deck. And I'm going to pull a card. And then, of course, anything, we can co-create, you want to chime in with too.
Yep.
This is just going to be sort of like for the collective, for anyone here right now or listening. And it's really funny. Like, I feel like I feel called towards, this doesn't always happen, but I actually feel called towards perhaps a particular listener who might be like sitting in a chair and have a cat on their lap. There's a cat on the lap, who may be feeling a sense of smallness. Just a picture, like this, like an orb. If you've seen an orb, right, or an orb in a picture, it's like a light body, like a light being. To picture or understand, maybe you already understand that you have this like orb or light body or light being with you. And they are here to support you and sort of quote unquote shine the light for you through the darkness of some of the messages like you may have received when you were a child, like potentially especially from mom, knowing that everyone does their best and we all kind of have limitations. And so recognizing that it's safe to sort of like go take a shower, brush off the energy, and allow this orb to help guide you, to follow you into the light, for your own self to be seen, right? To feel safe, to have joy, to feel safe to be in your self-expression. That orb is kind of showing you the way. And then I picked this card, number 13, interesting, and it's Ametine. So this has all sorts of different things in it, these spirit allies. It's got Cleopatra, Lakshmi, it's got all these gods and goddesses, it's got crystal allies. So this is one of the crystal allies. This is Ametrine. And it's saying, I am greater than my habits. It's not to be confused with amethyst. It's got a purple and yellow color. And even though we may not think it, we all have some type of habit that we would benefit from removing from our life, whether it's junk food or spending a little too much time on social media. There's a better substitute that we could be turning to. Ametrine is here to support you in this process of overcoming what no longer serves you and finding ways for you to channel your time and energy in more productive and beneficial ways. So what I like about this is that it's kind of like what we were talking about with energy leaks and channeling our energy, right? So if you are in a fear or you find yourself doing something that's no longer serving you, a certain thought pattern or a certain habit, then you can channel your time and energy into a more productive way. When you see a card like this or a crystal, just thinking of the crystal is being in the energy of that crystal. And that crystal is actually here to amplify what already exists within you. So while I love my candles, I love my crystals, I never feel like I have to rely on something external to myself because it all really is within. And this is just asking, the hardest part is acting on change, but the universe has faith in you and will stand by you the whole way. Kind of like that idea of that orb, just sort of that that one little essence of the universe, just helping to show you that light to guide you step by step. Even just that one step, sitting down at the desk, picking up the pen, um, closing the fridge and getting some water instead. That one step will lead to the next and the next, and those breadcrumbs guide you towards something even greater than you might imagine right now.
Yeah, beautiful. And whilst you were doing that, I did the cards as well. And the card that wanted to come out is absolutely perfect, ties in exactly with what you've been
Of course
talking
it
about,
does.
of course. View from
Mm.
above, get the big picture. I mean, how brilliant
That's
is that, it's really confirmation,
mhm,
of everything that you've been saying, that, we do need to
mhm,
look at the bigger picture of what's going on. It's not just that tiny little thing. There's so much. When you look at the bigger picture, you can see what's going on around that little thing in the that thing in the middle, and you can actually just see and expand over. And again, with the card with the breadcrumbs, again, when you've got that higher view, you can see where those breadcrumbs are taking you, and where the
mm, mhm,
synchronicities are. So yeah, so everyone who's watching, and obviously Steph's self, get the big picture of what's
mm,
going on, because that really will give you that path and lead you on that journey that you're supposed to go on. So I just love the way
mhm.
those cards have kind of like worked, and got very similar colours as well.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Of course, they always, synchronize and work together, and that's exactly it.
Exactly. And Thea says, thanks for sending and good information. Good to hear you talk. You talk in an understanding way. And you totally do, you've sort of like explained things really clearly, and
Oh,
it made sense. So Steph, do you have any insights or thoughts or
mhm.
last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
I really think it's just that essence of when, you know, follow the feeling. So, whatever you're feeling, even if it's fear, follow it so that you can understand it, so you can transmute it, right? There's nothing to be afraid of with it. It literally is the pathway. And when we let that become the routine, then that routine moves us even more into that which we really do want, out of these cycles that aren't serving us, and into that next phase of what we do want. And yeah, I'm so happy to support. Um, I'm happy to offer your listeners just a complimentary intuitive manifesting session with me if they'd like to come and understand a bit more what is actually blocking them, and then the next step pathway forward from there.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, so I will put the link to Steph's Calendly
Mm.
in the comments at the end. And I hope everyone, you've enjoyed this conversation, found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So Steph,
Mm.
apart from that beautiful free offer that you've got for people, if anyone wants to connect with you, what's the best way of doing that? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I have quite a few videos up on YouTube now, just as Stephanie Zito, that are related to manifesting, releasing fears, you know, living your best life. So you can always find me there. And then just here on Facebook at Steph Zito. Those are two places that I enjoy hanging out. I have my free group as well, Soulful Manifesting Mastery, to help guide you on your best life too.
Yeah, and what I will do, as well as putting the link to Steph's Calendly for that free gift she's offered, I'll put links to your social media in the comments as well. So people don't even have to search for you; they just come here, click on the comment, and hey,
Easy.
they're directly with you, which is
Very
which is which
easy,
is what we like.
wonderful.
Yes, we like to make
Mhm.
things as
We
easy
like
as possible
easy.
on this show. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Steph, for sharing your wisdom. And of course, anyone who's watching
Absolutely.
this, if you are now ready to remember your divine presence and step onto your spiritual multidimensional path, but you feel lost, confused, or stuck or alone, then please feel free to reach out and connect with me, and we can see where you are now and how you can move forward to take charge of your destiny, to spread your wings and soar. And of course, you can receive a free Future Life progression recording to discover your destiny by seeing into your future to get guidance and clarity that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts for signing up to my email list. And again, I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching, and for Graham and Lise for joining in the conversation. I'd like him to invite everyone to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny, just like you. And the information that Steph has given would really help them on their journey. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button, be notified when the show goes live or I post new guided meditations. And do the same for Steph's YouTube channel, for both our social media. Every time someone likes, comments, subscribes, or shares any of the work we do, it really helps get that message out there, and creates that ripple effect that we can start bringing in this unity of people working together and us all taking charge of our own destinies in the here and now. And Kevin says, thank you for fascinating talk, really enjoyable and very helpful. Thank you so much for watching, Kevin. And I look forward to seeing everyone same time, same place next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.